So welcome everyone to the PDF Accessibility Workshop. I'm excited that you could join us. For those of you I haven't met, my name is Chelsea Summerlin, the ICFL's Digital Skills Library Consultant. I'm joined today by a couple of other ICFL staff members, Allison, Doug, and Haley. I'm going to let them introduce themselves here real quick.
I'm Allison. I'm the Public Library Program Specialist here at the ICFL.
And I am Haley. I am the graphic and web designer here.
I'm Doug. I'm the library technology consultant. I'm here mostly to learn just like the rest of you, though. So, yay.
Perfect. Thank you all so much. Allison, Haley, and I worked on the content, and then yes, Doug is providing our sources today. But you're gonna pretty much exclusively be hearing from me, so I apologize in advance for that. So today we're going to be focusing on how to make PDF documents accessible. Please note that if you want to follow along with us, you need the desktop version of Adobe Acrobat Pro. I'm going to be using the new version of Adobe in our demos. Some of you might be using the old version. That is fine. Everything works the same, but things will be in different places and it may look different for some of you. Doug is going to throw a link in the chat to TechSoup's discount on Adobe. At this point, I am not aware of any other options other than Adobe Acrobat for making PDFs accessible. I am also going to acknowledge before we begin that making PDFs accessible in Adobe is a lot of work. We strongly recommend using alternative options to share information with your patrons or customers whenever possible. We're also going to throw a link in the chat to our last workshop on online board documents, which walked through some of those alternatives. So here is our agenda for today. We are going to cover the why, some common terms, and Adobe's structure in the introduction. From there, we're going to move on to those demos. We are going to walk through how to make an example board document and a flyer accessible. Then we're going to do a quick wrap up and we'll share a feedback survey with you all. Today's session is 1 hour and we will get you all out of here by 12 p.m. Mountain Time. This is being recorded. Everyone who registered will receive a link to the recording after today's workshop. If you have questions, please throw those into the chat. We are going to try to answer them as we go. So first things first here, I want to share why this is important. We're going to watch someone using a screen reader to navigate PDFs that aren't accessible. You should be able to hear this, but one of my colleagues can let me know if the sound is not coming through.
Example. This PDF was saved using print and then save as PDF. When saving a PDF this way, it can make it so the PDF is one giant image. The screen reader won't be able to read it at all. Let's hear what this sounds like.
Window. Alert. Document unavailable. Pane. You are currently on a pane. Alert. Document unavailable. Pane. Content is empty.
Since that PDF was saved using print and then save as PDF, it saved the text as an image, so it is unreadable to assistive technology. Now let's hear a PDF that has readable text but hasn't been tagged and the reading order wasn't checked.
California. Beaches. When you think of California, one of the first things that comes to mind is its beaches. Ride the wave and learn more about what beaches are the most popular and how their temperatures vary. You are currently on its most popular beaches temperatures.
You'll notice the screen reader doesn't announce the type of element like headings or graphics, which takes away the structure. I'm going to play the screen reader again. Take a look at what happens when the same PDF gets to the columns.
According to U.S. News, the top three in the table below, the June 2021 California beaches are temperatures compared for each of the 1, 2.
Because the PDF's reading order is wrong, the screen reader reads the columns from left to right instead of going column by column. Example.
All right, so hopefully that was pretty obvious why that was a poor user experience. I do want to mention that scanning pages creates the same issues in printing and saving as a PDF, so you don't want to convert documents that way. So let's go on to our common terms here. So first up, we have alternative text, frequently just called alt text. Alt text is a textual description for non-text content in web pages or documents. Think images, infographics, charts, graphs, etc. Screen readers announce alt text in place of those images, helping users with certain visual or cognitive disabilities perceive the content and the function of those images. PDF tags indicate that document structure. Which parts are headings, figures, images, links, etc. A logical structure tree of tags represents the organizational structure of the document. Tags indicate the reading order and help improve navigation. Assistive software determines how to present and interpret the content of the document by using that logical outline structure. An untagged document does not have structure information. This situation results in the page items being read in the wrong order or not at all, as we just saw in the video. Lastly, we have PDF annotations. These are typically objects added to a PDF page. Things like highlights, comments, drawings, stamps, form fields. They don't alter the underlying document content. However, they can frequently cause accessibility issues if they're not tagged correctly. All right, so before we move on to our first demo, I do want to do a quick rundown on the accessibility tools built into Adobe that we are going to be using. Prepare for Accessibility contains the major tools available to fix PDFs. You find it under All Tools. From there, you can use Adobe's automated tools to check for accessibility, which then creates a report. The report highlights what's passed, what's failed, and what needs manually checked. It does not catch everything, but it is a really good place to start. The alt text is where you can add alt text to figures. Some programs like Microsoft Word will import alt text for you, but you always want to check. The reading order tool allows you to manually tag items. You can also adjust existing tags, and you can view the reading order from here. Now, you would think that this was also the place where you adjusted the reading order, but unfortunately, you would be wrong. Adjusting the reading order from here can negatively affect your tags tree, so you actually adjust the reading order in both the content panel and the tags tree. So the tags tree, of course, shows you all of the tags in the order they're in, including whether they're nested or not. This will become more clear as we go through and do that demo. If that was all very confusing to you, don't worry, you're not alone. Hopefully things will become more clear as we move on to those demos. So you're going to have to bear with me here for just a moment while I share my screen again. And I'm going to turn off my video because otherwise my video cuts off part of the screen in the recording here. Okay, so first things first, let's go ahead and talk about how we convert this document into an accessible PDF. If you have that paid version of Adobe Acrobat Pro, you may see the Acrobat plugin up here. And it also will often show up here as Save as Adobe PDF. If you don't see those, don't worry. You can also use this export feature and then hit Create PDF. What you don't want to hit is the Print button. That will get you an inaccessible PDF. So I already exported this, so we are going to move ourselves over to Adobe here. So this is the new version of Adobe. I mentioned that we need the tags and the content panels. Sometimes that might not show up for you. So first things first, I want to make sure that you all know where you can add those to your side panels so you can see them. So we're going to go up to the menu. We are going to go down to View. We are going to go to Show Hide. And then we are going to go down to Side Panels, and then we're going to click on Accessibility Tags and Content. You can click on whatever else you want, but you need the tags and the content to do the remediation. All right, so now that we have those, let's look at that Prepare for Accessibility menu. So All Tools is open here. If it wasn't, I could just click and it would be open. We're going to hit View More, and we're going to scroll down because it's almost at the bottom, and I'm going to click on Prepare for Accessibility. So these are the tools. So first things first, let's check and see what we have, what Adobe thinks is inaccessible or unaccessible about this. So we're going to check for accessibility. If I have this clicked, it will save a separate report to my computer. I don't want it to do that, so I have it unclicked, but everything else is checked. And I'm going to hit Start Checking. And then it's going to pop up over here. So it will tell you which sections have issues. In this case, we have alt text, 1 issue, and the document has 3 issues. So let's start with the document issues. So first thing that it's flagged here for us is the logical reading order, and it's telling me that needs manually checked. And it's right, it does. We will check that in the tags tree and the content panel. So for right now, we're just going to go ahead and ignore this. The next thing is that the title has failed. And I know some of you are like, well, I mean, it looks like it has a title to me. But for whatever reason, the file name and the title, Adobe doesn't think they're the same thing. So we're going to go ahead and manually add that title. There's two ways of doing that. First off, we're going to go to the menu and we're going to click on Document Properties. Here, I could enter the title. Or we can go over to the title where it says it's failed. I can right click and I can hit Fix. I will uncheck Leave As Is and I will type that title. So Mr. Fluffles Public Library Board of Trustees regular meeting. And I'm going to put the date in here since there's probably more than one regular meeting. We're going to hit OK, and now you will see that that title has passed. The other error here is one you will also always see. These three errors, the reading order, the title, and the color contrast, are pretty standard. You're going to see these each time. So the color contrast needs manually checked. So does the text in the background have significant ratio so that they're easy to view? This is pretty easy on this document. Black and white always passes, so I know that I am good there. But if I had a document more like this one, which we'll be looking at here in a minute, that would be a question that I needed to have asked myself within this source document. So if I created this in Word or Canva, this was created in Express, I need to make sure that that peach and that black have significant contrast before I convert them to a PDF, because if they don't, there's really nothing I can do about it at this point. This document, though, we're golden. So we are going to go ahead and right click and I'm going to hit pass because that has passed. So next things next, under alternative text, I have the figures, alternative text, and figure 1 here has failed. Mr. Fluffles does not have alt text. So I'm wondering why that is, because Word typically will support over alt text. So we're going to go back to our Word document here, and I'm going to click on Mr. Fluffles, and we are going to right click on him, and I'm going to hit View Alt Text. Oh, that's why. So Allison is the source of our board document here. And when she created this document, she didn't put alt text in there. And that's no good. She was supposed to have done that. Not for this demo, but you know, in general, she was supposed to have done that. The more work you do in the source document, the easier your life is going to be in the long run. So in this case, we can fix this in Adobe. We're going to hit Add Alternative Text. It's going to pop up that little message. I'm going to hit OK. And then since this is basically a logo, we're just going to write Mr. Fluffles approved, and then I'm going to hit Save and Close. Now you'll notice that nothing changed. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of the reasons is Adobe is a bit of an old school program. If you remember back in the day, you had to hit Control S, Control S, Control S every time you'd made a change. Yes, you have to do that in Adobe still. So you can hit your little save icon or you can hit Control S. It auto saves absolutely nothing. So if you make a change, save. Otherwise, you'll get halfway through a 225-page document, it will crash and none of your changes will be saved and you'll be having a really bad day. So once we've added that alternative text and we've hit save, we can force this to check again to see if it's fixed that error. So I'm going to click on this failure here. I am going to right click and I'm going to hit check again. And now it says that it's passed. So if you have an error that you can't get to go away, that's a really helpful feature. You can try something, you can hit check again, you can try something else, you can hit check again, and it will let you know if it passes or not. So from here, let's move on to talk about our reading order tool here, which is where we can kind of get a sense of the tags without the complication of the tags tree. So that is this deceptively named fix reading order, which we're not actually going to fix the reading order here. So here I can see some of the base tags that it allows me to add here. For some of you, if you clicked on this, it might have showed you the page content order. That will give you a numbered list of the order that it will read it in. It's a good skimmable thing, but it's not always the best way of doing it, especially since we're not actually updating the content order here. So we're going to change this to structure type. And then I think it's a little easier to have this unchecked so you can see all of those various tags, because if there's two tags that are the same together, it displays those in a single block. And maybe I don't want both of those to be a paragraph, and I can easily fix that by just unclicking that box. And in fact, I definitely don't want both of those to be a paragraph. This should be a heading, right? It is the title of the document. And in Adobe, the title of the document should be H1. Now, this is something that Word should have ported over. So once again, why didn't it? Because if you tag things properly in Word, it will port over correctly in Adobe. So when I look at this title that Allison has put in here, I notice that I am still in the normal panel here, right? She's upped the font size and she's made it bold, but she didn't actually tag it as heading 1, right? She just made it look like a heading, and looking like a heading is not the same thing as actually being a heading, right? It needs to be tagged like that. If she doesn't like the style of heading 1, she can right click and she can click modify and she can update the style to however she wants, but it does need to have that tag set in. So since it doesn't, let's fix it over in Adobe. Fixing things, the point of that is fixing things in Word is a lot easier than fixing things in Adobe. It's possible, but it's a lot easier. So for paragraph here, we can, once it's selected, it'll be kind of outlined in blue here, and I can just go ahead and click heading 1, and that now tags it as heading 1. If you have more complicated things or it cut off the word meeting for some reason, you can also delete it entirely and re-tag it. So we're going to make sure it's selected again. I'm going to right click and I'm going to delete selected item structure, not the page structure, the selected item structure. And now that isn't tagged at all. So the screen reader would not read that. It's not part of the structure. To manually tag that, you'll notice that my cursor changed to this little star shape here. So I'm going to press and hold, and we are going to kind of drag and drop around that. We're going to make sure there's pink lines around all of that. And then I'm going to hit heading 1. And now that is tagged back as heading 1. Now, as we go down here, paragraph makes sense for this. I'm going to zoom in here so you can get a little bit of a better view of some of these tags. So we've got label and body tags, and that L stands for list. We're going to dive into these more once we hit the tags tree because it'll become a little bit more clear, but I do want you to see those here. We're going to scroll down here just a little bit further. We have label tags, body tags. Now I'm noticing here that I don't have label tags anymore, so that indicates something that I should probably fix within the tags tree. And I also have, this is not a paragraph, right? This should be list body. And if you're an eagle-eyed viewer, you will have noticed that while I can click on this in here, I don't see any list body options here. In fact, I don't see any list type tags here. So this is not something I can fix here. I have to fix that from the tags tree. So we're going to note it and we're going to move on. What I can fix here are these two. So these are blank paragraph tags, and blank tags that convey meaning, like headings or paragraphs, have to be deleted, right? Because the screen reader is going to say paragraph, and then there's no content within the paragraph. It's a very confusing user experience. So is their screen reader glitching? They don't really know why there's nothing there. So we have to delete these. And you might be wondering why these showed up in the first place. And that is another good question to ask of our source document. We're going to go back to our Word document. So Allison, when she created this lovely list, to get the line spacing in between these list items, she did the biggest no-no thing you can do, and she hit the Enter key. Which means that there was, before I started fixing this document earlier, a blank paragraph tag in between every single bulleted or numbered list item here. And that is really annoying to fix in Adobe, right? In here, oh, it's not that big of a deal, right? This is only a one-page document. Again, I want you to imagine a 225-page document, and then you're deleting thousands of blank paragraph tags. There's not a way to mass delete them. You have to do it manually. It's a real big pain. So what she should have done is, if she wanted more line spacing in between her items here, she should have gone up to paragraph. You can adjust the line spacing here, or if you're really particular, you can hit this paragraph settings little icon down here. And then I added 6 points in between 1 and 2. I changed the line spacing so that that gap is visible, but I can't stick my cursor in between those because that is just the line spacing, not the enter key. So back over here, we are going to delete just these two empty paragraph tags here. Delete selected item structure once we right click. Now, this doesn't seem like such a big deal because I've only demonstrated two, but again, even for this document, that was a lot of right click, delete, right click, delete. All right, so that's about what we can do in the reading order. We know that we have some issues with our tags tree, so that's where we're going to go next. I'm going to go ahead and close this, and then because I've made some changes, I'm going to go ahead and hit that save button again. And now we're going to go over to our tags tree, which is helpfully this little tag icon. So let's talk about what a tags tree typically looks like. Your first one is just your tags. I'm going to zoom this document out so we can get a better view of it. And then we have all of the document tags. Nested within that, we will have a section tag. This is typically a page. So this is page 1. So there's one section. That makes sense. And then we can go through here. Now I'm navigating this with the arrows on my keyboard. That is the easiest way to navigate a tags tree. You can obviously click with your cursor and move things up and down, but it is easier. You can open things up with your right arrow and close them with the left and go up and down with your up and down arrows. So let's look at this. So we've got heading 1, which is perfect. We changed that. We have that paragraph directly underneath that. That's also great. And then I have this first list tag. Now you'll notice that 6, 7, and 8 are not included, and that's because I haven't fixed those yet. That's what we're going to do today, but I did fix 1 through 5. So I'm going to show you what this looks like correctly, and then we're going to fix those last 3 items in our list together here. So headings and paragraphs have a really simple structure, right? It's just the tag, and then the content, when you expand it, is just whatever is contained within that tag. Lists are a whole nother beast. Lists, forms, and tables get way more complicated. So there's a proper structure or outline, if you want to think of it that way, for a list. Your first tag is that L tag, which is the list tag. And then when you expand that out, you should see one list item for every main level thing. So there's a list item for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Within that list item, there are 2 more tags. Are we excited yet? First, we have the label tag for number 1, and then the body tag. So if I expand that, that's the number 1. And then the body tag is the call regular meeting to order, right? So every item needs to have that label tag. What bullet? Is it a bullet? Is it a numbered list? It doesn't matter. It has to have a label tag. And then, of course, the body of the list, which is the actual text that the list has. So each list item has to have that. Now, some of you are like, wait a minute, what about all those bullets? And that's such a good question. So number 2 here has the label tag, and number 2. And then it has the L body tag. And if we expand that out, I see my text, but then I see yet another list tag. And if I expand that out, well, now I see 4 list item tags. And within each of those, there's a label and a body tag. So Allison, once again, has been kind of mean to us. And what she has done is she has created what they call a compound list. So despite the fact that we know that this is part of the same list, the Adobe tags tree does not. And that is not how the tags tree is interpreted. I know that is completely unintuitive, but that is how it is. Within a tags tree, when you have a compound list for each sub-menu item, i.e. these bullet points, you start a new list tag that contains list item tags for each of those bullet points, and each of those bullet points contains a list, a label tag, and a body tag. So let's scroll down a little bit more. So number 3 is nice and simple, right? Label and a body, and then we get to number 4, and we realize that it's not simple anymore. Things are getting pretty complicated through this tags tree. If that is overwhelming to you and you would like me to quit talking, I hear you. I think that's totally fair. A lot of accessibility folks will tell you not to create compound lists because of how complex the structure gets, right? They're not against the rules, but they require a lot of work. And I will tell you that pretty much no single program ever imports these correctly. So it created a list tag when it was imported from Word, and it created a body tag occasionally, but never the label tag. So I have to go through and manually add label tags to all of the numbers and all of the bullet points here. That is not something, we're not going to go back to Word and figure out that Allison set up that list wrong. That's not something she did wrong. Word and Adobe simply do not communicate that way, and I do not believe that Google Docs does either if you're on Google. So you pretty much always have to do that creation of those label tags, and then again, the new list creation for submenu items, it also does not do that tags tree correctly. There's pretty much nothing automated about this portion of it. So from here, let's go ahead and fix 6, 7, and 8 together so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So Word has helpfully created a new list tag that we don't need, but within it, I have a list item tag. So I want to move that within this main list. So I can do that by dragging and dropping or by cutting and pasting. I'm going to cut and paste. I find dragging and dropping to be a frustrating user experience. So we're going to cut. I am going to select the one I want, and then I'm going to paste it directly under that. So now you will see that list item. I now have a blank tag. This is a tag that conveys meaning, so it has to be deleted. We're going to right click, and I'm going to click delete tag. All right, within this list item tag, I have that L body tag. It currently includes the number 6, and I don't want it to do that. So I have to create the label tag. So once again, our right click is our friend. We're going to right click and I'm going to hit new tag. This takes me to all of the tags available in Adobe. So it's in alphabetical order here. Label is up here. Most of the other list tags are right here. So we want that label tag here. That's selected. And now that's in the wrong order, right? Because I don't want it to read public comment and then the number 6. So once again, we can drag and drop or we can cut and paste. So to cut these when I want them to be a submenu item, we can right click and I can hit paste child. And that is now within that list item, but it is the first one there. Now you'll notice that when I click on it, nothing highlights in pink over on the document itself, and that's because it's a blank tag. So we need to add that meaning to it. So it's selected over here because it's outlined in blue. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to select just the number 6. We're going to come back over here. We're going to use that glorious right click again, and we are going to hit create tag from selection. So now the label tag includes the number 6, and the body tag includes the words public comment. So that's the first one. Now we have a little bit of a problem here because this should actually look a little bit more like 7, where within here, the public comment and that paragraph underneath it are all part of the same list. That's not a new thing, and this shouldn't be a blank paragraph tag. So I will want to move it within this L body tag. But let's look at it because it's a little more complicated. So first off, we have a link in here, which includes a link object, and then it includes a span tag, and then there's another span tag that just has the period in it, and that has the link. So these span tags don't add any meaningful thing to a screen reader. They're just sort of here because of how Allison pasted this link in here. But they're not harming anything, so we do have the privilege of just ignoring those, and we can do that. The link tag is perfect. I want that there, so we're going to go ahead and ignore that. I can change the structure of this tag here, so I can do that by right-clicking and clicking on Properties, and then I could change this to, scroll down, to a list item body, so it's now an L body tag like the other one. I don't want 2 L body tags right here because they're not really 2 different things, and that's kind of a confusing structure. So what we're going to do is we're going to select, I'm going to hold down my shift key and I'm going to click on all 3 of these little sub menu items here. We're going to cut those and I'm going to paste them directly underneath public comment. So now this list body contains all of the text here, and then this tag is now empty. We're going to right click it and we're going to delete that tag. All right. So that's number 6. Let's move on now to number 7. Who's excited? No one? Oh, well. All right. Number 7 here. We're going to cut the list item. We're going to paste. Okay, there we go. We have a blank list tag. We delete that tag. We're going to expand this list item tag. It only has the body. I need that label tag. Right click, new tag. Label is already selected. I'm going to hit OK. It's in the wrong spot. Here's the dragging and the dropping. So you can see it. I have it right there.
Chelsea, real quick,
Yes.
we have a question from Christina. She wants to know, was there a way to paste the hyperlink into the document that doesn't result in an extra span tag?
Yes. So I'm not going to guarantee that this would not have created a span tag because I did not test it, but probably if Allison had hyperlinked those words instead of pasting the entire URL, it would not have created that weird span tag. So Adobe Word, it doesn't matter where you're putting a link in, you don't want to just copy and paste the URL. So it should not say https:// because that's how the screen reader is going to read it. This is a relatively short link, but I know probably all of us have seen links that are 4 lines long, and that's not helpful. So like submit public comments here, and that submit public comments is hyperlinked. That would be great, where you don't copy and paste that URL, and then the text wouldn't be confusing. Part of the span tag is because she put a period at the end of this link, which of course makes sense because that's the end of the sentence, but it's confusing the little screen reader for the URL because URLs don't typically end with a period. So it's just the way that this was pasted in here. Don't copy and paste a URL. I can't, well, I could technically try to edit the text within this PDF document, but it will cause me way more problems than just ignoring this. So we are going to do the naughty thing, and we are going to ignore the fact that that URL was copied and pasted in there because it's something that really had to be fixed within that source document versus here. But that's a good question. Okay, so here, I'm on number 7, right? Yes. Okay. So we want to create a label for number 7. It's selected over in the text tree. We're going to select the number 7. We're coming back over. We are clicking create tag from selection. All right. We're going to do the last one. We're almost there. We're going to move 8 under that main text tree. I'm deleting that empty tag. We're expanding that out. I just have the body tag. I need a new tag. Label tag, this is getting cut, and then we are going to paste as a child, label, and then body. We're going to create that number 8 tag. It's selected. We're right-clicking. We are clicking create tag from selection. So now I have the label and the body. All right, that's the list. If you're overwhelmed and tired, that was the hardest part of this. Lots of people don't like using lists because of how hard they are to do in the tags tree. So from here, what we're going to do next is we're going to make sure that the reading order looks correct within the tags tree. We have to fix it within the tags tree and within the content panel. So this is our first actual look at the reading order. So once again, I'm just going to use that down arrow and I'm going to follow the pink line down to make sure it makes sense. So we have heading 1, I have my paragraph, I have the list. We know that the list makes sense because we already looked at it, so I'm not going to bother expanding that again. And then I have the figure at the bottom here. Now, a little bit of a problem here because the figure is not at the bottom of the document, right? It's at the top, and I don't think Mr. Fluffles doesn't deserve to be at the bottom. So we're going to move him back up to the top. So we are going to cut, and then we are going to paste him. So now he's right underneath heading 1. There's that first paragraph, and then there's our list. Now we just made a whole bunch of changes, and I should have been saving as I go, but oh well. I have saved now, and the tags are now saved. All right, lastly, we're going to go to the content panel. This is the one that looks like the little document. It won't say content unless you click on it. Its little description is very unhelpful, but it's the document one, and then it says content. Once again, we're going to go ahead and expand this. So this one is a lot more overwhelming to look at than the tags tree, and the tags tree was plenty overwhelming. And a little bit of good news, if some of you are thinking, do we have to nest all of this again? No, we do not have to nest all of this again. We just have to make sure that everything is in the correct order. And so that's what we're going to do. You will also see a couple of weird tags as we go down this list, and we will talk about those as we go. So first things first is this annotations. This annotation now contains this link. The link isn't technically an annotation, and I don't know why Adobe thinks that it is in this instance. It often doesn't do this, but in this document it did. Luckily for us, it's not tagged as an annotation within the tags tree, just within the content panel, and it isn't going to read annotation and then link out of order within the screen reader will not say annotation, here's the link, right? It will just skip this. So we are going to go ahead and ignore it. So sometimes you will see weird things in the annotations. As long as they're correct in the tags tree, you can go ahead and ignore. Next, we have heading 1 and then the paragraph. Now you're going to see a bunch of blank container artifact options here, and that is once again because of the use of the enter key when creating this list. We deleted it from the tags tree, but it is still going to show up here. And if you expand it out, there's nothing in the text field, right? There's just that cursor line there. Once again, we are lucky here that artifact tags are also not read out loud by the screen reader. So we deleted the empty paragraph tags, so that is all we have to do. We can just go ahead and ignore these. However, they do make it harder to look through the content panel. So again, you do not want to use the enter key, but for this particular instance, it's just annoying and not actually causing us any actual harm. So we're going to keep using that down arrow. We've got the number 1, that artifact, and we're just going to a little bit faster here. You're going to see the bullet points and then the text itself. So as long as this looks good, you're doing pretty good here. And then it's going to do a weird thing. We have another artifact for that link there, and then those span tags again, we can just go ahead and ignore those. It's not going to read the link twice, so we are good to go. And then come on. There we go. Down and down. And there's the figure all the way at the bottom again. So I want to go ahead and move him again. So just like we did in the tags tree, I'm going to Control X, and then we are going to paste him directly under the heading. So now it reads the title, Mr. Fluffles, and then our day and time there. So I'm going to hit save because I made a change. Now, at this point, we are doing pretty good. We are mostly done with remediating our document. The final step here is to test it, preferably with a screen reader. The NVDA screen reader is free to download. It's a good one to test. If you don't have access to it or you can't get it for some reason, you can rely on the Adobe's built-in read out loud function. It does not work like a screen reader, and it's definitely not a replacement for a screen reader, but it is there. The other thing I will say is that the read aloud function might disagree with the screen reader. When we were testing this document, the screen reader had everything and it read it out loud correctly, and the read out loud function did not. We were able to get them both to match, but it required a little bit more work than we probably needed to do. So if you're catching a weird error with the read aloud, I would highly recommend testing it with an actual screen reader to see if it's really a problem or if it's just the read aloud thinking it's a problem. Alternatively, the read aloud isn't going to catch errors that a screen reader might catch. So it really isn't an alternative as much as we might like it to be. I have my little headphones pinned up here. You can also get to them via the menu. You'll go down to View, Read Aloud, and then Activate Read Aloud. And then these options won't be grayed out anymore. So that is our board document. We are going to move on now to our event flyer here. So this was created in Adobe Express. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. We're going to open Express. Okay, so within Express, when we go ahead and download things, I'm not printing this. There we go. We are going to look for a couple of things here. So if I want PDF here, I want to make sure that PDF standard is what is selected. It's best for documents. PDF print is best for printing. We're not printing this, right? We're remediating a PDF to put on a website or link on social media. So we're definitely not going to use that one. Canva has similar options as well. I don't remember if Canva has a check mark for add accessibility tags. If it does, make sure you click it because it will help you in your remediation process. So this is selected. We have the correct document selected here. And I, of course, already downloaded it. So we are going to switch back over to Adobe. So once again, let's run that checker and see what types of problems it's going to pick up for us. So all tools, view more, prepare for accessibility. We are going to hit check for accessibility. We're going to hit start checking, and here we go. So within the document, I have my usual reading order that needs to be manually checked and the usual color contrast that needs to be manually checked. I will say for the color contrast, when Haley created this lovely example, she did make sure that these colors were accessible, but she did that in Express before we converted it. So that is how that works. It does not work if those are not checked within Express or Canva or whatever tool you're using. It did pass my title, which is interesting. I wonder what it put for that, because normally you have to fix that. So to figure that little piece of information out, we're going to go over to our menu. We are going to go to document properties, and it put July event schedule, which isn't wrong, but it's also not very accurate. So we're going to do Mr. Fluffle's public library, July, and then I'm going to put the year 2026 event schedule, just so it's a little bit more specific. All right. So from here, let's go ahead and look at this alt text. So we have 3 figures that did not pass the alt text, and you're like, oh, should have put those in Express. And I agree with you, but this is not Haley's fault. You can't put alt text in Express. And we were at an Adobe training yesterday, and she asked about it, and it doesn't appear to be on their radar to allow that for right now. So if you use Adobe Express, you're just going and you convert it to a PDF, you're going to have to put the alt text in. Canva does allow alt text, and it converts, I think it converts okay most of the time. So that is a pro benefit there. So let's go ahead and add alt text. I will say I've already fixed part of this PDF, so it should have grabbed these 3 also as failing, but since they've already been partially fixed, it didn't. So we're going to hit alt text here, and we're going to look at this. So once again, we've got a couple of logos. So Fluffle's Public Library is our alt text for that. Mr. Fluffle's Approved is our alt text for the second one. And then we have the circle. So the circle, the star, the little cloud shape here. It's not the July 28th that it's flagging, it is the circle around it. This is cute, but it doesn't add any meaningful information. So this is one of the things that we can go ahead and mark as decorative. So I'm going to hit that decorative figure check mark there. We're going to save and close. We've made changes, so we're hitting that save button. I am right clicking and I am clicking check again, and that has all passed now. So we are good on the alt text. From here, once again, we are going to spend a little bit of time in the reading order tool. I'm going to zoom that in so we can see our figures. Now, Express and Canva, I believe, both do this when you export things. They just mark some things as just a heading, as just an H. That's, I mean, it's sort of helpful, but it's mostly meaningless, and it's not even one of the options that you can get in Adobe. So I don't even know how they managed to do that, but they usually manage to. So heading, not good. We have to have a logical outline structure here. So our title is always heading 1. I should have mentioned in Word that Word has a lovely little title option here, and it doesn't convert correctly into Adobe. If you want to use it for just a Word document, that is great. But for most of your web content, including PDFs, you always want to do heading 1, which is what is mostly considered to be the title, and then heading 2, 3, 4, and on down the line for your subheadings. So now I'm going to go ahead and close this so we can see a little bit better here. Through here, we're going to look and see kind of what we have. So we've got a figure, we have heading 1, and then we have these dates tagged as heading 2s, and then our title of our events tagged as heading 3s. That looks good. And then the paragraphs are, of course, just those P for paragraph tags. Now, as I scroll down here, we will notice that I haven't fixed this one in our little demo here, so that's what we're going to be working on shortly. So I do see another random H tag. I don't want that, so we are going to go ahead and switch that to H3. It's also not showing me the difference between the circle and the text that is July 28th here. And so I'm going to go ahead and fix this within the tags tree, but that shouldn't be a figure, of course, that should be heading 2 like the rest of them. So that's about what we can fix from here. We're going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to save because I made a couple of changes, and then we're going to open our tags tree. Now, luckily, we don't have a list, so we don't have to nest anything, so that's fabulous. I am noticing a couple of weird things here. The first one is that I have 2 sections. So for whatever reason, most of it is within section 1, and then just this information is within another different section. It doesn't need to be, right? This is a 1-page document. I do not need multiple sections in a 1-page document. So like we did before, I'm going to click the first one. I'm holding down my Shift key. We're going to cut those, and then I'm just going to paste them at the bottom there. I now have an empty section tag. We are going to go ahead and delete that. So now everything is within that one section for that first page. Let's sort of use our cursor down and see what we have going on for tags again. So we have our figure, our heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and the paragraph. Now, some of you noticed that despite the fact that this little shape and July 15th are at the right-hand side of the document, they are listed first. And Haley, when she designed this document, had fun putting the dates on different sides of the document to add visual interest, and they're fun to look at, but they're not, it's not a meaningful structure decision that she made, and the tags tree needs to have that logical outline structure. So you wouldn't put the heading 3, the literature trivia, before heading 2, right? Because if I did that, it would seem like heading 2 didn't have any submenu items. It breaks that structure tree. So we always, within this, have the date as heading 2, then the title of the event, and then the paragraph. So the date as heading 2, the title of the event, the paragraph, the date, heading 3, paragraph, date, heading 3, paragraph. And now we get some confusion. So we have our figure here, which is fine, right? That's just Mr. Fluffles, but he's kind of cutting off this information here. So I'm going to cut him, and we're going to paste him at the bottom because he's sort of the last thing if we want to keep these list items all together, and I do. The next weird thing is I have an aside tag. I don't know why it decided that this content was an aside. It's not an aside, right? It's part of the main content of this document. So I want to remove my heading 3 and my paragraph from here. So once again, we're going to copy and we're going to paste that. I now have that blank aside tag. We're going to go ahead and right click and delete that tag. And then now I have an artifact tag is what it's decided this is. You'll notice in the reading order that it was calling this a figure, and now it's calling it an artifact. Both of those are incorrect. That's heading 2. So because it's a pretty simple thing, what we can do is we can double click in here, and then I can just delete the word artifact, and I can type in H2 for heading 2, voila, and then I want to drag and drop that, or cut and paste, heading 2, title of the event, the paragraph, and our figure. All right, let's quickly run down that again and make sure that the flow of that looks correct. Yes, it does. Yay. Okay, so that's the tags tree. Nothing has to be nested other than it needs to be nested within the section tag. Let's check on the reading order within the content panel now. So we're going to click on that. We're going to expand that, page 1. All right, so our first thing here is we have our lovely little annotations thing. There's nothing in this, so it's really easy to ignore. Now you're going to notice throughout this document a lot of artifact things that will show up in the content panel, and these are the color blocks and the outlines. So this particular one is that lovely yellow background. It's not harming anything, of course, it's part of the visual structure, and if I tried to delete it, it would try to delete the yellow background, and Acrobat is not your tool for graphic design. You do not want to delete any of the structure of the document within Acrobat. So when we come across these, we are just going to ignore them. They will affect the reading order a little bit, so we want to make sure that we're moving them within the groups that they're in, which will make a little bit more sense in a second. So the figure here is perfect, and then I have my heading. I have this artifact again, that's the blue box. This artifact is the black outline, and then I have my date, my title of the event, the paragraph, again, that box in the outline, the date, the title, paragraph, So we skipped pajama story time, and we went right to Mr. Fluffles' birthday. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that I grab everything. I want to grab the artifact, the outline, the heading 2, all of this fun stuff here. when we move that. But I think since we've got some more confusion here, what I'm actually going to do is we're going to move pajama story time up. So we're going to grab the artifacts through that paragraph because these appear to be in the correct order. We are going to copy and then, or cut, excuse me, and then we are going to paste. So now I should see my color block in the outline, that heading 2, heading 3 in the paragraph. Okay, so color block outline is great. Heading 2 is great, heading 3. All right, but now I have the figure and the paragraph are out of order here. So we're going to cut Mr. Fluffles and we're going to paste him at the bottom. So now it reads heading 2, heading 3, the paragraph, and that figure. So that is our content. We once again made changes. We're going to hit that save button. And unless we had an NVDA screen reader on, we would be done for now. We'll talk a little bit about one of the tools that I did not mention earlier, and that is this automatically tag PDF button. This is definitely an option. If you convert a document and it does not have any tags in it, then you can add tags with that auto tag feature. It will completely rewrite any existing tags. So Word, Express, all of those send tags through when you export them. This overwrites all of that work. It can actually be helpful occasionally to do that, to just completely wipe out everything that you were doing and to just start over with that auto tag feature. Acrobat sometimes has weird errors. There's something buried in the tags tree that you can't even see, and absolutely just clearing that out and starting fresh can help. I do highly recommend if you're frustrated and you're ready to do that process, that you go ahead and you save yourself a new copy of the document. You try the auto tag on that new document. You see if it fixes your weird error. If it does, great. Now you get to go back through and you get to fix the tags tree and all of that. Adobe's automatic tagger does not do lists quite as properly, right? You're still going to have to put in a fair amount of manual work to get it correctly. I know it seems like it would just be a simple option, but unfortunately it is not. The other thing you can do is within the fixed reading order, if you only have an error on like a particular page and it's not throughout the whole document, is you can clear the entire page structure as well. And then you can do that thing that I showed earlier of manually retagging each section. Again, that's not a super fun process. Even this page would take me quite a while to just drag and drop my cursor over all of these things as I went through and then retag them. That is how I would have to do that, but it would not be a fun user experience for me. It would take a while. So we only use that option again as well if there's some weird error that we just can't figure out what's wrong with Adobe on. Which happens more often than we might like. So with that, I am going to leave my screen up for a few. I will see if Allison and Haley have anything that I missed that I should have covered in those demos. And then, of course, questions. We have about 7 minutes left for questions. So please ask any in the chat if you have any of those, or you can raise your hand at this point as well. Can we type in the name of the free screen reader? I think I saw that pop up. Perfect. And Haley got that. I will say it out loud again. It is NVDA.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I manage our website and we had a question over whether or not it's easier / better to just build something directly on the website. Like, let's say a policy for our library. We have the document, but if I type it right into the website as a web page, they have the H1 tags and the H2 tags. Is that easier for accessibility? Because that feels like something I can manage, and all of the lists that you just described feel like not something I want to manage.
Yes, that's a great question, Susan. And the answer to your question is yes, it is a lot easier just to do it on the website. If you do a blog post, create a new page, however you want to do that, HTML is a lot easier to work in than is the old, oh, sorry. I'm going to quit sharing my screen because I've completely ruined the screen share here. But it's a lot easier to work in than the old PDF, which is not easy at all to work in, that list is an absolute disaster, and it wasn't even that complicated of a list. So yes, highly recommend figuring out ways around using a PDF whenever possible.
Okay. My related question is kind of a legal one. I know we all have public records request needs. Like we have to, I'm thinking of like when we do our board meeting agendas. How long do we have to hold those board meeting agendas? It feels like I would have to create something to print for people in person to look at. And also, if I'm doing things on a web page, I would just have to create that content twice. One is a print option and one is a web page option. Versus a PDF, I could create a PDF and that conceivably you could post it on your website and print it. What are the benefits of that or the not benefits of that? Or what does that mean?
I would
Involved.
recommend doing the double document over the PDF. It sounds like it's more work, but I do think it's actually less work. For board documents is to create it on the page itself and then to just have a Word or a Google Doc that you just print out and hand to people. For retention policies, Allison is probably a little bit of a better expert on open meeting law. I don't recall anything specific in open meeting law about how long you have to have those. But Allison, please correct me if I'm wrong there.
It's kind of a nice to have. I think the thing also is like if you've already posted things, you can just kind of focus on going forward content, making that accessible. And so it's mostly just like for upcoming board meetings, like thinking about, that question. And I would second what Chelsea said, that even if it seems like more work, I think just building a separate agenda in the website is probably going to be ultimately easier than remediating a PDF. Yes.
Yeah, okay. I guess here's another question with that meeting agenda. Would that entail creating a new web page for every meeting agenda? Or can I say, in this section of my web page is the meeting for June of 2026, and just add to that web page, here's the agenda for July of 2026. Right now we do a separate document for each meeting agenda, because that makes the most logical sense. I guess maybe I need to think through that. Do you have suggestions or thoughts on that?
So you can do that where you could just, copy and paste that new agenda into the document. You can also do something where you like set up like posts on a page where you have like kind of a running list of those. I created an example of that format for our eBranch sites, which I'll throw in the chat. That was what that online board documents workshop kind of dug into. So there's more information in that one, but I did throw a link in the chat to that, how that would look, just as an example.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. And go ahead, Doug.
Susan, I know you had emailed me about setting up a meeting about other website stuff. If you want to talk about that too, when we get together, I'm happy to talk about that more with you as well.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
And then I see Josie has a question in the chat. Would a document that is primarily meant to be a print document, but may need to be accessed as a digital doc, still need to be prepared for accessibility? And yes is the answer to that question. You can think about if you want to just share the Word version of that. Word is a lot easier to fix than a PDF, or Google Doc, same type of a thing. You can consider whether you need to actually convert it to a PDF, but it doesn't matter if you were just planning on printing it. You still got to make it accessible before you share it out. If you were just planning on printing it, then you do not need to do this. But if you were planning on sharing any level of a digital version, including via email, then it does have to be accessible at that point. All right, we have 1 minute left on the clock, probably a little less than that. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out to any of us. We're happy to answer questions. Doug is happy to help with website setups, things like that. Any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to reach out to any of us at any point. Thank you all so much for coming. I know this was a lot. And yeah, if you're overwhelmed, I think you probably, unfortunately, understood how complicated it was, because it just really is that complicated. And yeah, anything you can do to avoid a PDF is probably the best course of action. Have a fabulous Wednesday, and I will see you all at our next tech workshop real soon.